A man wanted to copy Batman, so he walked into a cage full of bats. He thought the bats would attack him because of the smell of blood, but to his surprise, the bats only became excited and did not attack him. Instead, they kept flying around him and finally even landed on his hand. The reason for this goes back 20 years. A boy named Mike was born with a blood disease. Because of this, he had to go to the hospital every day to replace his blood. Since childhood, he never had any friends. One day, another boy with the same illness was brought to the hospital. Because they were suffering from the same problem, they quickly became friends. But during a blood transfusion that day, the boy's machine suddenly stopped working. He stopped breathing, and the doctor was too busy to notice. Mike had no choice. He opened the machine, found the broken part, and fixed it using the inside part of a pen. Even the hospital director was shocked. He believed Mike was a genius. To support his talent, the director decided to send him abroad for studies and promised to pay all his future expenses. After many years, Mike became a scientist. He created artificial blood and saved thousands of patients. But he still could not cure himself. So he began studying bats because bats feed on blood and produce a substance in their body that prevents blood from clotting. This was his only hope. Later, Mike separated bat genes in his lab and injected them into a white mouse. The mouse began shaking and stopped breathing. They thought the experiment had failed, but when Martina turned around, she saw that the dead mouse came back to life. This meant the experiment was successful. The next day, Mike went deep into the mountains and found a bat cave. Without hesitation, he cut his palm with a knife. Countless bats rushed out, clearly attracted by the blood. After collecting enough samples, Mike went to the open sea to perform a human experiment on himself. To avoid danger, after his girlfriend injected him with the serum, he asked her to tie him up. Like a lab mouse, he began shaking violently. The loud noises attracted security guards. Martina was very angry. While they were arguing, Mike suddenly disappeared from his wheelchair. When Martina looked up, she saw Mike hanging upside down from the ceiling. A guard tried to shoot him, but was quickly knocked down. The guard shut the door, but it was too late. 3 people were killed in less than 2 seconds. The creature was out of control. Soon, it turned into a massacre. More than 1,000 guards on the ship were killed. Only Martina survived. When Mike woke up from unconsciousness, his appearance slowly returned to normal. Seeing the terrible scene on the ground and the blood near his mouth, he realized something was wrong. After checking the security cameras, he discovered that he had turned into a monster. To prevent losing control again, he deleted the camera recordings and jumped into the sea. When he returned to his lab, his body started changing. He felt a strong desire for blood. His once weak and thin body became extremely strong. His strength and speed improved greatly. Even more surprising, he developed bat-like hearing. He could use sound echoes to sense everything around him. Even with his eyes closed, he could catch a flying metal ball. Although Mike finally cured his blood disease, the side effect was a powerful thirst for blood. If he did not drink human blood within 6 hours, he would become extremely weak and his animal instincts would take over. Just when he was about to turn into a monster again, Lucy arrived at the right moment. After seeing the blood message he had written, Lucy ran to the blood storage room and brought artificial blood for him. As soon as Mike drank it, his weak body became strong again. This was exactly what Lucy wanted. He begged Mike to inject him with the serum too, but Mike refused because the bat serum was still unstable. He did not want Lucy to become like him. In the end, he even pushed him away. Mike thought this would end Lucy's idea, but the next morning, a nurse at the hospital was brutally killed. The cause of death was too much blood loss. Mike thought he had lost control again and caused it, so he quickly returned to the laboratory. He packed many bags of blood and planned to leave the place as fast as possible. But as soon as he stepped outside, 2 agents stopped him. At first, he thought it was just a routine check. However, without saying anything, the men tried to grab him. By instinct, Mike fought back immediately and knocked them both down. When he was pushed into a corner, he jumped hard and flew straight up to the rooftop. But as soon as he reached the roof, a strong wind suddenly blew him away. He managed to stop himself with his feet, but before he could recover, he saw a detective aiming a gun at him. With no choice, Mike went back to the police station with them. During this time, his friend Lucy came to visit him. Lucy promised he would do his best to help Mike escape this trouble. Before leaving, he even left a bag of blood for him. But when Mike noticed Lucy's crutch in the corner, he realized he had been tricked. Lucy had secretly injected himself with the serum. The young nurse who died earlier was killed by Lucy after he turned into a monster. To stop Lucy from killing innocent people, Mike grabbed a blood bag, broke the glass, and escaped from prison. Now he was like a demon in the dark night. He moved quickly between buildings and soon reached the highest point in the city. He used his echolocating ability. The buildings looked like smoke in front of him. Soon, he found Lucy's location. At that moment, Lucy had just finished feeding. When he saw Mike angrily landing from the sky, he was not afraid at all. Instead, he stayed calm and hit Mike hard with his head, sending him flying away. A fierce chase began between them. Because Mike had only been drinking artificial blood, he was weaker than Lucy. Lucy threw him off buildings again and again. Lucy was not hurt at all, but Mike was reaching his limit. Just as they were about to talk, a group of security guards suddenly rushed in. Lucy allowed them to pin him against the wall, but they did not know they were inviting death upon themselves. Morbius looked at Milo, who had become completely crazy, and felt pain and helplessness. He did not want to become enemies with his brother of more than 20 years, so he decided to avoid fighting him until Milo calmed down. But Milo was blinded by hatred and kept chasing Morbius. At that moment, a fast-moving train rushed through the tunnel, creating a powerful wind. The strong vibration felt like electricity and awakened the sleeping bat genes inside Morbius. With the help of the wind from the train, Morbius awakened the ability to fly. He spread his huge wings like black lightning and barely escaped from Milo. Later, a bald police officer arrived and saw the dried bodies that had been drained of blood. He believed that all of this was done by Morbius, who had escaped from prison. Without hesitation, he issued a wanted order against him. Martina had already been discharged from the hospital. She trusted Morbius completely and did not believe he killed anyone. To avoid the police following her, she got on a bus. At that time, Morbius found her and told her the whole truth. He explained that Milo had completely lost control and that they needed to quickly develop a cure to stop the disaster from spreading. With Martina's help, they hid in an underground factory and built a temporary laboratory. However, during their research, an accident happened. Martina accidentally cut her finger, and one drop of blood fell onto the table. A sweet smell quickly filled the air. That smell awakened the bloodthirst inside Morbius. His eyes turned red, his fangs came out, and his body began to shake uncontrollably. Luckily, with strong willpower, he managed to control himself and prevented something terrible from happening. On the other side, Milo was enjoying his new superpowers. After gaining strength, he went to a bar. He tried to talk to a woman, hoping to experience the emotions he had missed for many years because of his disability. Just when he was about to succeed, the woman's boyfriend suddenly appeared and acted aggressively. Anger rose inside Milo, and he almost revealed his powers in front of everyone. But since there were many people around, he controlled his anger and left the bar. When he found his target later, Milo showed his terrifying face and jumped out from the darkness to feed. After finishing, he accidentally saw Morbius and Martina spending time together sweetly on the rooftop. The smell of love made him feel jealous and angry. A crazy plan slowly formed in his mind. 4 days later, in the early morning, detectives found bodies near the bar. The victims had been bitten to death by Milo. At first, they thought Morbius had committed the crime again, but after checking the security cameras, they saw a strange man on the screen. The news quickly reported the incident. The head of the orphanage saw the report and immediately recognized Milo in his beast form. He was worried that Milo would be completely swallowed by darkness, so he went to find Milo and tried to convince him to stop killing and return to the right path. But Milo, whose eyes were red from killing, could not give up his powerful super abilities so easily. He did not want to become the weak and sick man waiting for death again. In his heart, he still dreamed of joining hands with his old friend to rule the world. As the old headmaster kept talking, an evil idea suddenly came to Milo's mind. He thought that if he killed the headmaster, Morbius would go crazy. If Morbius drank human blood, he would never return to his old kind self. Then he would understand Milo and stop hunting him. They could live together like when they were children. Without hesitation, Milo attacked the old headmaster. At the same time, after great effort, Morbius finally developed a suppressing serum. If the antibody was injected into the body, it could instantly destroy the bat gene that gave superpowers. To be completely safe, he prepared 2 injections. He planned to kill Milo and then inject himself to remove this terrible disease forever. But before he could act, Morbius received a call from the headmaster. The voice on the phone was very weak, showing that he was close to death. When Morbius arrived at the scene, he saw the headmaster lying on the ground, barely alive. As he felt deep sorrow, he suddenly heard Milo calling him. He then realized that killing the headmaster was only a trick to lure him away. The real target was Martina. Milo wanted to kill her to make Morbius lose his mind. Morbius fell into panic, but he did not know Martina's location. He immediately used his sound detection ability and began searching the whole city. However, Milo seemed to notice his actions. He showed his sharp weapon and stabbed toward Martina's neck. Seeing this, Morbius could not hold back. He rushed down from a tall building and ran at full speed toward the location he had found. But even with all his strength, he was one step too late. Martina was lying in a pool of blood, barely breathing. She looked at Morbius with love and hope in her eyes. She only wished that her death would have meaning. Morbius understood her feelings. They had loved each other for many years. Now, as they were about to be separated forever, Morbius stopped suppressing his bloodthirst. He bit hard into Martina's neck. The taste of human blood awakened his killing nature. His anger and pain turned into a long, loud scream. Milo believed he had freed Morbius from his limits. Excitedly, he invited his old friend to conquer the world together. But at that moment, Morbius had only one thought: to tear Milo apart and take revenge for Martina. In the fierce battle, both of them fell from a tall building. Milo, who had drunk a large amount of blood, was full of energy. After adjusting himself, he attacked again. Morbius, already weakened from earlier fights, was no match for him. A deep wound was cut across his stomach. Before Morbius could recover, Milo attacked again, like a violent storm. Morbius crashed into a billboard and almost lost the ability to fight. Even then, Milo did not stop. He grabbed Morbius and slammed him hard into the ground. At the critical moment, Morbius used his sharp claws to slow his fall, so he did not hit the ground as heavily as Milo. After repeated attacks and humiliation, Morbius became completely furious. Using his last bit of strength, he sent out a signal for help. The ground suddenly began to shake. Countless vampire bats rushed out from the sewers and gathered around him without end. Fear rose in Milo's heart, but he tried to stay calm. He picked up a metal pipe and shouted in challenge. However, this action fully awakened Morbius. Now he had completely mastered the power of the bats, and his strength greatly increased. Milo's attacks were useless against him. Morbius commanded the army of bats to hold Milo down. Then he pulled out a syringe and injected it into Milo without hesitation. At the moment of death, Milo seemed to regain a little sense. In his once crazy eyes, a small trace of regret appeared, but it was already too late. Those who surrender to darkness will eventually be swallowed by it. With deep sorrow, Morbius said his final goodbye to his old friend.